Hey, Millionaire University listeners, are you sitting on a nest egg of at least $30,000 and dreaming of breaking into real estate investing? Flip Cheap Houses is revolutionizing the game, and they're looking for partners just like you. Real estate investing can sound risky and time-consuming, but that's where Flip Cheap Houses turns the tables. They've got the finances covered, the properties lined up, and even the contractors on speed dial. All they need is your eyes. In 2023 alone, they negotiated over 2,500 flips. But they never invest sight unseen, and that's where you come in. As their local partner, you'll learn the ins and outs of real estate investing from the pros. We're talking negotiation skills, market analysis, and the secret sauce to becoming a real estate mogul. You're not just learning, though. You're also earning. We're talking 50 to 75% of the net profit on all your flips. So here's what you need to do. Go to flip2024.com for free information. That's FLIP2024.com for free info. Don't let this opportunity slip through your fingers. Your future in real estate starts now.
ABC Thursdays.
Welcome back.
Grey's Anatomy is all new.
Why didn't you tell me you were pregnant?
The drama going down.
Bungee jumping from the bridge, his cord snapped.
We need all hands on deck.
Is unbelievable.
You think you're God's gift to this hospital?
You're just another doctor.
My relationship with Catherine is complicated.
I'm gonna sue you.
Your lawyers know where to find me.
You're unbelievable.
Grey's Anatomy. All new Thursdays, 10/9 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Who wants a money machine? On October 1st, 2024, we will be launching the first ever Millionaire University program, teaching you how to build your own seven-figure business.
We don't think of a business as a business per se. We think of it more like a money machine, where every dollar you put in, you get $2, $3, $4 back.
Most successful business owners can identify thousands of business opportunities and execute on any one of them to create a seven-figure business within 3 to 5 years, time and time again.
Truth is, they don't have anything you don't. Trust us, we know. So if they can do it, why not you?
The purpose of the Build My Money Machine program is to empower you to be able to do the same thing. So take advantage of the Millionaire University Founders Special and go to buildmymoneymachine.com now to sign up and get 90% off the regular price. Once again, that's buildmymoneymachine.com. And we'll see you October 1st.
You're thinking about cost to you and price, but you're not always thinking about how fantastic the user experience will or won't be. And I mean, if you can't provide a positive experience, you are in big, big trouble, right?
Have you ever stopped to wonder about those fees that you pay for your payment processor in your business and whether or not you're actually getting the best deal and what those fees are going towards? Today's guest is Richard Willard from BuyFin, and he's going to help you break down and understand what you really need to be aware of and consider when it comes to choosing a payment processor. Things like consumer financing, split pay, credit card processing fees, all of the things that seem kind of minor but can actually make a huge difference in your business. When it comes to starting, running, and scaling your business, these are the things that really do add up. And Richard is going to break this down for us detail by detail. This is one of those CEO conversations that's important to have. So sit back, get ready to take some notes, and let's roll that interview with Richard Willard. All right. Welcome to the podcast, Richard. I'm so happy to have you here today. We're going to have a conversation that I think it may not be the sexiest business conversation, but a very essential one. And I know I'm going to learn a lot from you. So thanks for being willing to come on and share with us all of your knowledge as your skill set needs to come to our audience and give us a little insight into payment processing and financing and all of the things that may seem non-essential, but are actually very important.
Kirsten, I'm thrilled to be here. Honestly, I'd love to have this conversation. And if there's a way to make a conversation less sexy, I'm the guy for it. I want you to know that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So give us a little insight into your company, who you're here representing, and a little bit about what you guys do.
Yeah. So I work for BuyMax, which is a group purchasing organization, which is basically pooling the power of all of our clients to leverage, multiple $billion in annual sales to get better deals and discounts and rates and programs for all of the merchants that we work with, right? Today, we're going to talk a lot about consumer financing and credit card processing, and really just in general, giving merchants the ability to collect more money in a more efficient way with less obstacles and grow their business organically in a very healthy manner.
Love it. Okay, so we have a lot of beginning business owners on here right now, and you used a lot of language that a lot of people are maybe not even going to fully understand unless they've been at this game for a little bit. So let's maybe talk from the perspective of a consumer and what has shifted in our buying habits and why this is important to consider when you're a business owner and some of those things that we need to be aware of and where that intersects.
Sure. No matter what you think of the economy or where you stand politically right now, one of the things that's true and factually accurate is that about 60% of all Americans are now living paycheck to paycheck. And that's a really challenging way to live, right? And so that number continues to grow. And what that means is that even for the most critical services, so you live in, let's just say, someplace insane like southern Utah, right? And it's 115 degrees. If your air conditioning goes out, you need to fix it. And if you don't have the money to fix it, that's a real problem, right? And so your ability to, as a consumer, to be able to finance that and have a way to pay for it and have the essentials you need to live has become more challenging and harder to get at this point.
Yeah.
And so if you're a business owner, Kirsten, what that means is that if you can't get people to finance to pay for their jobs, whether it's through a credit card or through consumer financing or even through split pay, then you're going to have less jobs and your business is going to grow slower. And so the tougher the economy, the more critical or mission critical it becomes to have great financing options and the ability to present different financing options for your consumers, or else your business can't grow.
Yeah. Yes. And like we're saying from a consumer standpoint, this actually, it's funny you said that did happen for us this summer.
Oh, really?
Our air conditioner went out in the hottest part of the summer. And, we're not like completely unable to pay that. And we have some things going for us with homeowners insurance and whatnot. And it was still a pinch. Like it's still something that you can't really do without. But if push comes to shove, I'm going to be shopping too for the cheapest person. And as a business owner, I don't want to just have my value based in being cheapest. I want it based in accessibility. So it sounds like this is really important to consider so that you're not having to be the bottom of the barrel price.
And one of the things that you probably found out when that happened, Kirsten, is that post-pandemic, all of these prices have gone up. So just for the most basic things like an air conditioning system, it's way more expensive than it was a year ago or 2 years ago, and certainly 3 or 4 years ago. So these things have become so much more expensive during the last few years that if you have not monitored it, you're going to be shocked at what it costs to get that done.
Yeah. So where does BuyFin come in specifically to help alleviate this, to help you make sure that you are in a position where you can still grow your individual business? And I think it's so funny to see the intersection of this because people listening to this who are starting businesses are also the people who need that business because they are, the economy is what it is and maybe the jobs aren't paying enough. And so we're in the middle of the circle where we may be in both shoes where we're like, well, I can't really afford that. But I also, that plays tricks with my mind to think, well, I can't charge that. Having a business is really hard because people can't afford the services. So I think we're going to come full circle with seeing how this can benefit us in all ways. But I just wanted to add that in. A lot of these listeners are in that situation. They need their business to thrive right now. And the economy can't be the reason that it doesn't. It needs to be the reason that it does, right?
100%, right? And that is a really, really tough place to be right now, especially as a new business owner. The more established you are, likely the more resources you have to weather this storm, right? But if you're a newer business owner and you have not really gone through the processes of trying and failing and trying again with another partner, this could be a really challenging aspect for you. So I think your initial question there, Kirsten, was where does BuyFin fit in? And so BuyFin has really tried to make it easy for contractors to collect money in a very efficient way. And I'd say there's probably two main ways to do that, through consumer finance and then also through credit card processing. And then a third way, through which we talked about a little bit, through split pay, right? So there's a lot of obstacles that happen with consumer financing. So let's say that you are a home services contractor and you want to get consumer financing through a bank. So things that you have to think about are, what's your approval percentage going to be? Am I going to get people bought through this bank, regardless of their credit score? Are there going to be a bunch of stipulations? I have to prove that somebody owns the home or how much money they make, or even a stipulation for what product you sold them or installed, like SKUs, that kind of thing. is it going to be a positive experience for the homeowner and allow them to give me positive reviews and feedback so that my business can continue to grow from word of mouth? Or am I going to give them some kind of consumer financing option that's so archaic that it's going to be a terrible experience? And even if I do a great job, it's going to work against me in the long run. Is it something that the people that work for me are comfortable with and are comfortable presenting so they'll do it every time and give my clients the most options to succeed? Or is it going to be really challenging for them? And in that same sense, if it is easy and I get a lot of business, will it help me with employee retention so I don't have to continually hire, right, and go through that? There's other components of it, Kirsten, like cash flow and how fast you get funded on things. But all of those have been really, really well thought out with BuyFin to make sure that you could do that. So a lot of times contractors will say to me, well, I can't fund mobile homes, or I can't fund this person because they're not officially the homeowner, or because one of the husband or wife is home and the other one's not, and I need both of them for the application. You don't in these scenarios. BuyFin solves all of these problems for you. You could get through all of those issues with BuyFin very simply.
Yeah, that's really an important consideration. And it's funny, we mentioned before the call, like I'm coming into this, I've run a business for a long time, a lot of this very digitally. And so I'm not in the service-based industry, but I've done some consulting. And even on that degree, you want to make sure that you have those options available to you that are in alignment. And hearing you say how important it is that it's a great end user experience, it may be completely removed third-party tool that you're utilizing, but if they have a terrible experience with it, that reflects on you. And so it's really important not to be passive about what you're using.
And I think it's hard for every business owner to think of that when they're going through the motions of finding partners, right? So you're thinking about cost to you and price, but you're not always thinking about how fantastic the user experience will or won't be. And this society where everybody can leave you a Google review and maybe or some other review, and you're using some kind of tool to try to gather those reviews and grow your business. I mean, if you can't provide a positive experience, you are in big, big trouble, right? And so that is a big advantage, and we know it, and we lean into it in a nice way. The other side of the coin is payment processing. And this is such a wild industry to talk about it, especially in the US. I mean, I think it's one of the few things, Kirsten, where the industry is almost intentionally designed to deceive people. Like if you're a business owner, and likely you've experienced it yourself, and you look at your credit card statement, it is very challenging to know what it's costing you for that service, right? It's hard to know what markup you're paying. It's hard to know what all the little fees add up to. I think the term that I hear a lot is death by 1,000 pennies. And those pennies really add up. And I'm always surprised and disappointed by how the industry functions, right? And unless you have a ton of industry knowledge, credit card processing is very scary, frankly, right? So there is no way to really know if you're getting a good deal. You're locked into a contract for a few years. So if you have a bad situation, it's hard to get out of it. And one of the things that no one ever talks about is the technology that's involved with credit card processing. So just for the Visa platform alone, there's over 500 different interchanges. So different kinds of cards, whether it's an airline card or a Dyna card or some other a Discover, whatever the cards might be. There's hundreds and hundreds of them. And each one of them has a different cost associated with. But because most of the technology in the industry has not updated as rapidly in technology in other industries, what these companies mostly do is they lump them together. So they'll take 100 different kinds of cards, they'll put them in one group, they'll charge the same thing for it, regardless of what the actual percentage should be on that card. And so as a business owner, you don't know that. There's no way for you to police it, right? You can't get them to give you the number on every one of those cards. All you know is, hey, I did $50,000 in credit card processing, and it looks like it cost me X amount of dollars through all of these fees and charges that come with it. And so, yeah, that's disappointing. I mean, I just think as a person, I've also owned my own business, Kirsten, and that really drove me crazy and me feel very uncomfortable. And I think lots of people that are listening to your show can relate to that experience of having a bad process. And so what we've done on the payment processing side is we have the only direct to Visa platform, period, right? We partner through a bank called Woodforest Acceptance Solutions. It is significantly newer technology. It allows for more reliability and less downtime. And it allows for each one of those cards that we just mentioned, those 500 plus different cards, to be charged correctly rather than grouped together. So what it means to a business owner, because it's also like mumbo jumbo at this point, right? What it means to a business owner is it means it's going to cost them less money, it's going to be more reliable, and it's going to actually give them access to better data through that cards than they've likely ever had before, right?
Yeah. So how important is this to be paying attention to early on? Because like you said, we're talking long-term contracts you may not know that you're even entering into. You're just like in the flow of needing to get the business set up. I just had a friend the other day get signed up and she didn't sign up properly for a payment processor and her account got shut down. And it can just feel so overwhelming. You have all these pieces to put together. So if I'm a business owner and I'm out there looking, and I mean, obviously we know you're here representing BuyFin and those types of options, but even just from a basic standpoint, what am I looking for? And why is it so important for me to take more time to deep dive into something like this that just feels like an essential little checklist step in starting my business?
I think transparency is probably the thing you're looking for, right? As much as anything else. So how much can you really know and understand about the payment processor and how they're going to work for you? You started that question, Kirsten, by saying, how critical is it when you're starting a new business to think about your payment processor? And I think it's mission critical. I think it's one of the most common mistakes that new business owners make is that they don't put enough thought into their credit card processor. Maybe they finance through a bank and they decide to do their credit card processing through that bank because it's easy. But the truth is that that works against them in the long run because they're paying more money. And as their business starts to grow, that becomes a significantly bigger problem, right? If a greater percentage of your revenue is going to the payment processing company rather than to yourself, that's disappointing. So I think transparency is really important. I think, any reviews that you could read about a company and getting some references from other people and other business owners. I think it's the kind of thing that people don't spend enough time investigating, and they should, right? Because there is a real discrepancy. And the other part of it that's challenging is that what you sign up for with a credit card processor could be completely different in 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, like where they could change rates at any given time unless there's a contract that says that they can't. And so it is an industry that I think makes the business owner feel a little helpless, right? And that's bad. Other things that you want to think about are, does it give me the ability to take, ACH payment and digital checks and things like that might, again, help you get more money in the door. But I mean, just the overall positivity of that company is a big part of how people, again, are going to see your business, how you're going to feel about your payment processor.
Yeah. Okay. So this may be an off the record question, but I told you I'm pretty new to this. I've been a business owner utilizing Stripe. Is BuyFin, would you consider it a direct competitor with something like Stripe, to where that's one of those companies? And again, I want to be careful what we say to not throw any one particular company under the bus, but they're lumping those things all together. If there's a more PC way for me to ask this, is that I just wanted to know, would you consider that be a direct competition?
Yeah. So sure, any other payment processor would be direct. Yeah. And just so you know, literally, Kirsten, every other company besides us is lumping. There's no one else. Because we're the only direct Visa platform, whether you brought up Stripe or Well, or it wouldn't matter. They're all grouping it. I would say grouping it.
Okay. So I want to ask this just because I'm curious, business owner to business owner, from the BuyFin perspective. Obviously there's more exposure. You have some really, really clear, great advantages in not lumping these processing fees together. I had no idea there were 500 different options for Visa alone. How are you guys differentiating? Because I think the default is people are doing a little bit of research and they're like, okay, everybody uses this. What is really important for you guys? You said this is mission critical, that you are paying attention to transparency and what is actually happening. What are you guys doing to try and be able to be competitive with some of these really, really well-known default companies?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what you're asking is, how do we message this to separate ourselves from the noise? And the truth is that that's probably the hardest part of the gig for us, right? Is how do you break through the noise and have it register? I think we all get so much marketing thrown at us on a daily basis. I was listening to a report years ago about obesity with children, and the gentleman that was talking was saying that, 40 years ago, the only time you had to say no to candy was in the candy store, right? But now, everywhere you go, if you're in Office Depot, there's candy. Like everywhere you go, you have to say no 50 more times a day to things than you did years ago, right? And I think the same thing is true in marketing, that because of our phones and our computers and all the things that we see from television, there's just so many opportunities coming at you. And I think it is really, really challenging. I wouldn't say that we're brilliant at it, Kirsten. Like, it's moments like this where we get to talk about it and get into a deeper level to really help differentiate from what it is. And even if I say to somebody now, hey, you're going to pay the right amount for a card rather than having all of these interchange grouped together, or, the reliability of the network or the technology of the piece of equipment the hardware that you'd be using to connect is going to be better than this outdated hardware. I think it still sounds like noise, right? Like, I think it still comes through a little bit like noise. And so, yeah, I wouldn't say that we're brilliant at it, but it's really just trying to tell a more thorough narrative. And that's what we're doing, right? So we use BuyFin.com, BuyFin.com, to kind of help illustrate that story, try to get the word out. We try to do this in a more nuanced, direct to the merchant way. So these conversations feel very organic and positive, and that we're empowering the business owner rather than depowering them, right?
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This episode is brought to you by Atlassian. Atlassian makes the team collaboration software that powers enterprise businesses around the world, including over 80% of the Fortune 500. With Atlassian's AI-powered software like Jira, Confluence, and Loom, you'll have more time to do the work that matters. In fact, Atlassian customers experience a 25% reduction in project duration per year. Unleash the potential of your team at Atlassian.com. Atlassian.
Yeah. Thanks for indulging me on that question. I know sometimes we can go so many different routes here on the podcast because I'm talking to you as the business owner of BuyFin, and we're speaking to business owners, the advantages of the company. And I love coming at this from all angles, just understanding the motivation behind you. And I think this also is probably great for our listeners to hear. Maybe they are defaulting to some of these more well-known companies, but what is the mission? Like, why does this matter? And what am I not going to even be aware of as I'm out there shopping around for different things to make sure that there is a really quality experience that I'm providing at every layer of my business. So that was mostly just curiosity for me. And I think it's so fun for our listeners to hear both angles of this, a little bit peel the curtain back. So thanks for indulging me in that.
Sure. And you started this conversation by saying, hey, we're going to talk about a less sexy topic. And it is. And because it's less sexy, I think that's why people put less time and energy into it. Right? Like you'd much rather pick out designs or work on product design or something along those lines, because that is sexy. Like that is legit sexy. This is really nuts and bolts stuff that is going to help propel your business to success or not. And so while it's lessy, it is no less mission critical.
Yeah. Well, I can see that even just in a little bit I've learned for this amount of time we've been talking. You mentioned something too about how these processing fees and costs don't seem super, super important right now when you're in the beginning and maybe the price points are lower. But as we get down the line, let's talk about how important it is to cast bigger vision for your business and think long term and not just right now with, oh, well, I just need this. Because I think we have a tendency as business owners to think a little smaller because we are just trying to get afloat. And what have you seen specifically? Well, let's talk about why that's important to have the bigger vision. And then what have you seen specifically in some of your clients who have been dinged really hard once you get into the millions of dollars in revenue and the kind of losses that you're seeing when they don't pick the right processing?
My experience from owning my own business, maybe you felt this from owning your own business. And I think one of the things that the reason why this gets thought about less than it should is because you start your business, downplaying you have a product you're going to sell, you have a price point, you know what you can do with it. The truth is that how successful you are is about your ability to adapt, though, right? So you have this path, you go down, and something changes in the marketplace. You have to change your pricing or change your product, or some kind of competitor is doing something. And so your adaptability as you start to get into this is what makes this critical. And what I find is that as business owners start and they've got the initial plan and they think they're on this path that they're going to go from point A to point B, that's why they're thinking less about it. But as you start to have to do that adapting, that's where this becomes mission critical and becomes a bigger point. So now, let's say that you haven't really thought about your payment processing or consumer financing, and now you do have to change your price point or lower your margin to be more competitive. Now, if you're paying a greater percentage point or 2 points on a credit card or even in consumer financing on dealer fees, that hurts. It hurts a lot more than you thought it was going to hurt when you started the process, right? And so I think it's the unexpected things, Kirsten, that come and cause us to have to be malleable in these moments that really highlight the necessity of doing this right from the beginning with any kind of financing option, right? And yeah, so when we've worked with contractors or business owners on the payment processing side, we've seen thousands and thousands of dollars in savings on a monthly basis, right? We've had contractors that are spending between $5,000 and $10,000 in fees a month based on how much revenue they're doing. And that now goes directly back to their bottom line, right? So in this process changeover, as they start to save money, they're adding that back to their bottom line. So let's just say you're adding $5,000 to your bottom line or $60,000 a year. That is a huge win for the business owner.
Yeah. And so have you seen any specific situations where, you mentioned a little bit, we're talking this can be thousands of dollars that you're paying in these fees and you don't even realize there's another option, but have you guys been able to help people shift over to BuyFin and seen a tremendous savings as they get into those multi-million-dollar contracts and transactions?
Consistently, almost on a weekly basis. So yeah, we work with a lot of brands that people know, right? So when you think about brands like 1 Hour Heating and Cooling, Mr. Sparky Electricity, Benjamin, Mosquito Squad, America Schools, Surf Monsters, and with all of those brands, their ability to take cards and to move successfully forward has been, a huge part of how successful different owned businesses move to our platform and save more than $5,000, $10,000 a month in fees, just in fees, and back to the business owners buy, which is a huge deal for your profitability and your cash flow and ability to grow. And so it's been so critical. We get amazing feedback from people using this. And then on the consumer financing, one of the biggest things that we've allowed people to do is grow their average job size. In an economy where it's harder and harder to get work, the ability to have each job be a bigger job becomes, again, to help people. Some people, we have people that are growing their average 60%. And so that's a huge deal. That's a change that makes your business when it might not otherwise.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. And it's important to have the bigger picture in mind. And I think we've addressed that definitely. I think it can be super easy to just brush this stuff under the rug, and I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But like you mentioned in the very beginning, it's so imperative that you consider this now because those contracts are longer than you think. So if I sign up for a payment processor now, and I've seen this in my husband's company too, in the company that he works for, they're pretty locked into something for 3 years, even though they're miserable with it. And it can make or break a business. You wouldn't think that it could, but it really actually could. $5,000 to $10,000 a month can be the difference between making payroll for one of your employees or not. So it is mission critical, like you've been saying, and not something to just figure out later, something to make sure you're spending a little more time on now.
100%. Yeah. And so I don't know how to encourage people to do the sexy stuff, but I would say that those things, and we probably throw insurance into that category, they really matter. And again, the further you go down the list, things like insurance, payment processing, all of a sudden they become a bigger deal.
Yeah. So a third thing that you mentioned early on was split pay. Now I'm familiar with this as a consumer, but can you explain how is this becoming more and more of an asset to a business owner to provide that option for their consumers, especially in the state of our economy?
I mean, I would be shocked if there was anybody listening to the podcast that's not online and it's like, would you like to split this into payments at this point? And so let's say your company targets a low-income client or somebody that might fit into that bracket or somebody that might have responsibility to give that person a bigger job in your service is going to mean you getting 10 jobs and 30 jobs in any given time period.
So how do we, as a business owner, I mean, obviously we can see the bigger picture of we want this option because it's going to be more likely for us to capture a client, gain more clients. How do we remedy this where there might be a little bit of fear of if I don't get paid the first payment, but I go do the service, what if they don't continue to pay? You know, there's a fear when you're seeing that lesser income coming in the first thing. Is there any suggestions you have, whether BuyFin provides a solution to this or just, you know, maybe from your own personal insight as a business owner and what we can do to have a healthy perspective on that, of understanding how we can structure the offer better to ensure that continued payments happen?
Yes, actually what we do is split pays, though, even though you're only collecting a quarter of the payment, you're getting paid for the whole thing up front. And the responsibility for those additional payments is not on the merchant, it's on our partner. And so you have no liability there at all, Kirsten. So hypothetically, you have a job and it's $1,400, somebody pays 25% up front, you're still going to get paid on the entire job, the whole $1,400 up front. And then those additional payments that the consumer has to make will be the responsibility of our financial partner. There's no burden to you on that.
Yeah, I feel like there's no amount of, I don't want to say I would be willing to pay any fee for that, but to have the peace of mind of knowing you're still going to get paid, and it just puts this barrier between you and that stress as a business owner. There's some things like we pay for peace, right? We pay for peace of mind more so than take my money if it's going to provide that level of stability for my business and also give my customers an opportunity to get what they need. And then I don't have to babysit the payment.
That's right. And you know what? At this point, most people are building in some kind of credit card processing fee or something along those lines into their price anyway. So you're covering it. It's not really costing you any money out of your bottom line, but it is giving you peace of mind at the same time. You're right. When you own your own business, there's so many things to be stressed about at any given moment. And so having one less is certainly important. That's why we really focused, Kirsten, on the idea of making it easy. And whether you work with us or somebody else, I would say, is this going to be easy for me to manage, right? Not just is it going to be cost effective. So whoever you're looking to partner with, that is a really important component of it, ease of use. And so I think that's another thing that we hear from people is that it's too hard. You work with a consumer financing partner and you have to do things on paper or actually mail things in to get financed as opposed to it all being all digital. And so things like BuyFin solve those problems. And I think that's an important thing to focus on as well.
I should have asked this in the very beginning, but I'm really curious, the coming of age story. I know I asked you a little bit of like what BuyFin does and the technical, but where did the desire for I'm sure there's obviously profitability in there. That's usually how a lot of businesses are built. But what was the motivation behind, we need to provide a better solution here than what is available to people? Like, we're seeing this as a problem. Is there more of a backstory to even the creation of the company and the need that was seen?
So I wouldn't say necessarily the creation of the company. The creation of the company was to fill a niche in the marketplace, right? So not there, but BuyFin itself and these processes we're talking about, everything that we do is the direct result of feedback from our merchants or our business owners saying, I need a better solution for this. And, when we hear it several times, then we don't take action on it. No, we go through iterations of this as well, right? So we've worked through partners and processes to get to this point. And so when you're partnering with us, we've already done some of the failing for you, right? And so now we've gotten to a place where we've really got it working and it's healthy, but it's end user demand. And that's what we see all the time. So the split pay is a perfect example of that because nobody would have asked for that 2 years ago. And now we get asked for it all the time, right? So society evolves, the situations evolve, and it's really the business owner saying to us, I'm really struggling with blank. And then when we hear it a few times, we really just start to get on it and find a solution for it.
Yeah, I love that. It's important to hear for everybody else too. Like if you're not in that season of your business where you're aware of this, the whole reason it exists is because other people were bothered by it. Other people ran into this problem. And thankfully, there are solutions out there. There are people who, and this is a really important thing to learn as a business owner, like keep iterating, keep asking the questions, keep refining the product, add these different things into your business that are going to solve those needs. You know, you're talking a lot of the people who this is going to work for really, really well are people in the home services industries. You need to be doing that. You need to be diversifying and paying attention and filling those gaps. So it's cool to hear how you guys are doing this in such a very specific way that serves and helps elevate business owners.
Yeah. You know, who you choose as your partners is going to largely define your business, right? And so I think everybody thinks about that from a design standpoint of where you're buying your product and less so on some of these other components, but they're still pretty important.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want us to be aware of as we are making these decisions or just looking at planning and being strategic in our businesses that you would want to leave with our listeners before we finish our conversation?
I would just think people should know that they have more options and that it's worth taking the time to pursue them, right? So, I mean, obviously, I'd love them to work with us, but even if you didn't, what I would say is that don't take the easiest path to a solution without doing some work and investigating it. It's not the right way to go about it. It's going to matter at some point. It's going to matter to your clients, or it's going to matter to your bottom line. It's going to matter to your growth. There's going to come a moment that you're not anticipating, and you're going to wish that you had taken the time and put some real thought into some of these components. And it's inevitable. It happens for everybody.
Yeah. All right. Well, where can everybody go to learn more about what you guys provide and what you offer? We've done a really great job diving deep today, but if they want to go do some more research, where's the best place for them to go?
I'll give the website, BuyFin.com, BUYFIN. It's a great website with great resources. There's some case studies on there, testimonials, a lot of information that you could source on your own and get your knowledge up before you ever talk to anybody. And if you do on the website, you could just tell us you want to talk to us and we'll call you right away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Richard, for giving us some great education today and telling us what you're all about and giving us some insight into what our options are. It's important that we be thinking about these things, and I appreciate the conversation.
Same here, Kirsten. I love being on the show. I'm a big fan, and I appreciate the ability to talk to you about this. Thanks.
Thank you so much to Richard and all of our other show sponsors for making this episode possible today, bringing so much value and helping us to progress and advance in whatever stage of business that we are all in. I know as a business owner myself, I learned some things and really honestly had no idea some of those details about credit card processing, and that there are so many options out there available to me as a business owner to help me save money and make more money as my business grows. If you're in the early stages of building a business and you're not really sure where to start, or maybe you have one and you're feeling a little bit stuck, make sure you've checked out our brand new program, Build My Money Machine, at buildmymoneymachine.com. This program is going to help you get unstuck. It's going to give you ideas and give you the strategy and the mindset you need to build a successful $1 million business. Again, go check that out at buildmymoneymachine.com. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Who wants a money machine? On October 1st, 2024, we will be launching the first ever Millionaire University program, teaching you how to build your own seven-figure business.
We don't think of a business as a business per se. We think of it more like a money machine, where every dollar you put in, you get $2, $3, $4 back.
Most successful business owners can identify thousands of business opportunities and execute on any one of them to create a seven-figure business within 3 to 5 years, time and time again.
Truth is, they don't have anything you don't. Trust us, we know. So if they can do it, why not you?
The purpose of the Build My Money Machine program is to empower you to be able to do the same thing. So take advantage of the Millionaire University Founders Special and go to buildmymoneymachine.com now to sign up and get 90% off the regular price. Once again, that's buildmymoneymachine.com. And we'll see you October 1st.